we're back again. Got me a visitor today. It's John Williams. He's the guy that sent me the Brazilian cherry I did the box with. Got me a little surprise visit from him. Been planning it, what, about
a couple months or so.
Yeah, and I'm glad to have you.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Really, he brought me a lot more wood. Got me some more Brazilian cherry here, and we're gonna see what we can make out of that.
Now the other thing I brought up was some camphor. Stephen said he'd never seen camphor. We got a lot of it down in Florida, and it's got that beautiful red color. So I got him a few blanks and a really big one here to give it a try.
Yeah, it's about 40 pounds. It's a great big, massive piece. But you'll see me using this in the future too. I can't wait. It's beautiful. You see the grain and all in it. It's just some of the prettiest wood I've ever seen. Looks like an exotic.
We'll call it that.
It really does look like an exotic, but it smells like
well, it's camphor. It smells like deep heat rub,
yeah,
or that kind of thing.
That's it.
And his whole shop's going to smell of it. And unfortunately, my shop is attached to the house, so it gets all over the house.
I keep my shop away from the house.
Yeah.
Wife wouldn't let me.
But I got to know Stephen. I was looking on YouTube, and I got real curious about tri-corner bowls, and saw he had done one, and watched that video a couple times, and did one, and commented. And next thing I know, we're emailing back and forth and comparing notes. And I just wanted to give a shout out to all you guys out there, Captain Eddie, and Carl Jacobson, and others that I've watched. And thank y'all, and thanks Stephen for the videos, because I've learned a lot. I've been turning about a year, and I appreciate it, guys. Keep up the good work, and hopefully you'll see me on there when I figure I know enough so that I don't look like a has-been out there trying to do stuff. So anyway, thank you guys.
Well, we're gonna get started with our next project, and not too sure what it's gonna be, but we'll get in the shop and see what we can dig up.
I'll be watching it in my easy chair down in Tampa when he's doing it, so look forward to seeing it.
All right, well, y'all have a good day. We'll see you later.
Have a good one.
Well, I appreciate that.
All right, I'm back again. Old John, he had a good trip back down to Florida, him and his wife. And thank you again, John, for the camphor. That stuff right there smells just like icy hot or mentholatum or something. So I guess when I get done with this project, I'm not going to be having any sore muscles. Anyway, it's absolutely beautiful. I mean, when you look at the grain patterns in this wood, it is red with yellow streaks, some black in it. It's gonna be awesome. I cannot wait to get this on the lathe and turn it. Well, what I did here was I just took one blank that he brought, and I basically took a big block that he had and cut it down into a smaller one, 3x3 block. And I'm going to use these two to make. This is going to be for some pen blanks. Figure I can get 4, 5, 6 out of that maybe. And this is going to be, I will be using this for some type of finial. There's just too much color in there not to exploit it. It's just absolutely beautiful wood. It looks like something that may have come from South America or something like that. It's just unbelievable, and grows natural in Florida. Anyway, let's get this thing chucked up. I've already got my centers marked, holes drilled, ready to mount it up. Let's get started. All right, let's get this thing roughed out. Glasses. All right. Wow, this wood is just unbelievable. Look at the colors in this. I mean,
Wow, that is something. Anyway, I'm going to put a tenon on both ends. What I'm looking at doing here is I want like a stand for a Tealight, and then like a shade that'll fit down over the top onto a tenon. So the bottom will have a tenon on it, along with a Tealight mortise, and then the top will be like a shade, and the bottom will form a mortise that'll fit over the bottom's tenon. So we shall see what we can get here. I'm gonna square off both ends and put a tenon on each end. So let's get that started here. There we go. I'm going to break this into thirds. I've got 6 inches, so I'm going to go about 2 inches on the shade. That's that. I'll leave that mark there. That's really what I need to do anyway. Right about there will be the top of my piece. So this is going to be the bottom. This is going to be the shade. Now I'm going to have to cut this off and get this all mounted back up, and we will get started on this thing. I'm going to go a little bit tall. Alright, I'll take it over to the bandsaw, I'll finish that cut, and then I'll be right back. Okay, these Tealights measure just under 1.5 inches. So I've got 1.5 inch Forstner bit to cut my mortise in the base here, and my Forstner bit is about 1/2 inch tall, and so is the Tealight. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to mortise down about halfway through the head here, about halfway the depth of the head, and we will see if we can get this done. Alright, that's all the mortise you need. That's all the mortise you need, and the Tealight will sit nice and snug in there, and very little movement, but it'll hold it nice and secure as it's sitting there. And alright, well, I'm fixing to get started shaping the base. Alright, I believe what I'm going to do with the base is just, kind of make a simple diamond shape with, a chamfer on the top, chamfer on the bottom, and anyway, let's see what we get. I may try to put some kind of decorative something in the middle, and we'll see what we get. Now I need to start kind of forming my tenon here, so I know exactly where it's going to be. I'll just do that with a skew. And this will be to hold the lampshade. You want plenty of room here. Okay, you do not want any of this wood getting heated up by that candle. Okay, so you want plenty of room there. Alright, well, I'm just going to shape on this a little bit more. Well, I may put a couple beads on here. I think that'll look nice. yeah, I'm going to bead this out, and I'm not going to put any burn marks. I think it'll detract from the wood. Wow, that stuff is so pretty. Couple of beads. Alright. Okay, that's good. Like it. Okay, this is going to be the base. Now I have to get her sanded up and all. I'm just going to, at the end, I'm just going to use a wax finish on everything. And I'll put it on by hand. And once I get it all sanded. Alright, just getting ready to apply the wax. It's just a paste wax. Come back in a few minutes and I will well, let me go ahead and apply some here. I really don't want wax down in here. That's where the Tealight's going to be. So I'm going to have to wait a few minutes until that dries up. I'll put maybe 2 or 3 coats. Once it gets dry, I'll come back and I'll buff it off with a paper towel, and the base will be almost done. I'll have to spin it around. I'll put in a waste block, mount it on here, cut the bottom off, and we will be ready to roll. Okay, I've got it turned around, mounted on a waste block. All I did, I put a waste block in here. I turned it down to match the mortise in the top, or in the top of the base here, and it's got a good tight fit. But I brought up my tail center, my tailstock to help hold it in place while I try to cut this tenon off. It's very important that you get the bottom concave, just simply because you do not want this thing rocking or anything like that. Any kind of candle in the home is extremely dangerous. So you know, you don't want it to roll over or flip over on you. I just want to make sure that this is concave. I'm going to leave a little rim right here around the edge so it can sit flat. Alright, now I'm just going to continue on. Cut this out. Very carefully. It's just a friction drive that's running this whole thing, so we have to be very careful. We'll get in here as close as we dare. not want to do with end grain. One thing you do not want to do with end grain is you do not want to break this off, because what will happen with this end grain, when you break that off, it'll snap off fibers up inside your piece, and it'll just ruin the look that you're trying to go for with a nice clean cut bottom. So anyway, that being said, we're going to continue on to snibble this off. I'm just going to go all the way with it. And I'll just sand it with this off the friction drive. Get that thing way up out of the way. Alright, let's look at it. Okay. Got some sanding to do, and I've been sanding up to 400 grit so far on this piece. Alright, well, I'm just going to sand it up. Just finishing the last of the buffing. And basically all I've done, that's a really nice shine there. Basically, all I've done is I've used a paste wax, and you apply it, come back a couple minutes later, wipe off the excess, and then buff it. Then you put another coat on, do the same thing. This one has about 2 coats, and I think it really looks nice, so I'm going to keep that. But the base is solid. I want it to be solid because it's got weight, and weight will help keep this thing from wanting to tip, because the shade is going to be a lot taller. I don't want this thing to be top heavy. So anyway, it's time to get started on the shade. I'm going to get set up for that, and I'll be right back. Getting started on the shade, I'm going to have to cut the mortise in here to fit on the bottom section. So I've got right now about 2 1/8 inch. So now I actually want this to fit a little bit loose. You don't want it to be real tight, so if somebody tries to take it off, it'll turn the candle off or something. So as long as I get it where it'll go on without falling off, we're in good shape. What we're looking at is I want this thing to fit in my chuck, and I'm going to use the chuck in expanding mode. So I'm going to have to make sure that this is really square to the tenon here, or to the mortise. That way I get a good engagement on the chuck. Alright, now I got me a nice loose fit. It's a good fit, but it's a little loose, and I believe that's what I want on this. So now what I've got to do is make a mark around this outside. Okay, I can see that. And draw it in. Alright, now as I do my shaping, that'll be the bottom of my shade. Alright, well, let me kind of move you back here out of the way just a little bit. And what I'm going to end up doing here is, what I'm looking for is kind of a bulb shape, kind of coming up into, you know, more or less a skinnier type top. And I'm fixing to get started on that now. Just going to use a bowl gouge on this. Okay, yes, I do like that. I like that shape with a cove. Alright, now I'm going to have to work on sanding it. This is green wood, so you know, it's a little harder to sand. But I will be back in just a few minutes. I'm going to take this up through 400 grit, and I will be right back. Alright, well, got all that done. Brand new can, how about that? Alright. Start lining this stuff on. There will be no finish on the inside of this at all. And I'm actually going to be cutting it off right about there too. That sit for just a minute, and I'll come back and buff it and see what it starts to look like. But yeah, I'm going to be cutting this off right about there. I think that's just standing up a little bit too tall. Alright, be back in a few minutes. Okay, just getting ready to buff it out a little bit. Second coat. It's still a little wet too, so probably have to come back and buff it one more time. That wax really finishes nice, so it's a pretty quick finish to apply, and it finishes really nice. I'm going to let this thing dry a little bit more before I do final buffings, because it wasn't cured completely. I thought it was, but it wasn't. So anyway, I'll be back when I finish putting the finish on the outside. Alright, I'm just getting ready to set my depth. Don't want to go all the way to the chuck, so I'm going to go about a 1/4 inch from it. Set my depth right about there. I'm going to try to just drill straight in with this 1/2 inch drill bit, and we'll see what we get. Ready to start hollowing now. I've got my depth set down to about a 1/4 inch from the top. Now, this is I made this from an old planer blade, and I just had some key stock. Used JB Weld, put it on there. Got a good sharp edge on there, just like a round nose scraper. And I'm going to start cleaning up the inside. Got to be very careful here, because once this starts getting really thin, it'll blow apart with you. The inside diameter can never exceed the outside diameter. Rule number 1. This, like I say, very uniform, because when I start the piercing, very light cut. Very, very light cut. Can you feel on that? Keep checking your thickness. Don't let it get too thick. Too thin. And with this constantly changing curve, don't ever stop checking your thickness, your wall thickness, because it will come back and bite you when this thing flies apart, which I hope it doesn't. Alright, I'm just getting ready to take this tenon off, and all I've done is reversed it around with a mortise for the Tealight base. I've got it in my jaws right there, and I'm going to start taking this tenon off, and I'm going to have to very carefully hollow out the very top of this thing. I should be right about here now, but we'll see. Okay, well, here we are. A Tealight with a shade. Grain lines up pretty well. I don't know if you can really see that really well, but the grain matches up pretty good on it. And let's see, let's light it up. And there we go. Alright, well, I'll tell you what, I'll go in the house and I'll show that with the candle burning. It's a little bit too light out here now. Enjoyed making this. Good challenge. Make sure, if you're going to do these piercings and stuff, you may want to leave a little bit of thickness here, which I didn't. So I ended up about a 16th inch thick here, which is a little bit thinner than what I liked or what I wanted, but the shade is really nice and lightweight. It weighs nothing, but there's really not much to it right there. But what happened was, when I was piercing, you know, of course you saw in the video, it would fuzz out, and I actually had to come back and re-scrape that, which took the thickness on down a little bit, and then re-sand it and all of that good stuff. But all in all, it turned out really nice, or I think it did anyway, and I guess that's what matters. It's my project. No, but you know, go try one. It's pretty neat. I started working on it this morning, and you know, I've probably got about 6 hours altogether in it. A couple of breaks that I took in there too. But thank you, John, for the camphor. It's beautiful wood. I love the red and the yellow, and it looks almost kind of a greenish tent also. But thank you, John. I appreciate that. John drove, he and his wife were up here in North Georgia, and they stopped by my shop, or John did, and brought me this camphor. I sent him home with some pecan and walnut. So he got some pecan and walnut and some red bud, and I got a bunch of camphor. But go make one. Somebody special might like it for their birthday. You never know. Alright, well, I'll see you on down the road. Y'all have a good day.